episode of Paws4Stitches. As I mentioned last time, this is a new podcast. I'm giving this thing a try, and I'm back. So obviously that means that several things. One, that I really did have an amazing time filming the first episode. This whole thing has been a lot of fun for me so far. So we're going to keep going with this and we shall see what happens. I think one of the things I really wanted to start off with this time around is just an opportunity to say thank you to a bunch of people because as Jamie, if you did watch until the end of the podcast last time, you might remember Jamie making a comment toward the end. I think he said something along the lines of, do you think anybody's even still watching this? And we both agreed that that was probably unlikely. But in the last 2 weeks, I cannot get over how encouraging so many people in my life have been about, just telling me that they actually really enjoyed watching this. I will totally admit that most of these people are friends and family and certainly I expected that kind of encouragement from the people in my life that love me and love Jamie and, are always trying to, encourage us to do the crazy things sometimes that we want to do. But this was definitely one of those cases. And, everybody and anybody from my good friends, my knitting friends, I was actually really surprised. One day I checked my email and one of the women from my knitting group, Jean, hey Jean, had sent an email to the rest of the group and said, oh gosh, you guys got to go check out what Candy's up to now. And definitely a lot of the ladies in the group checked out the podcast. And again, like I said, just the encouragement has been very, very much appreciated. So thank you for that. So I am going to keep going with this. We'll see what happens. I think probably the highlight for me this week was when I ended up, I don't know, I went on, I guess you get YouTube alerts when people comment on your episode or whatever. And I got my first, kind of lovely comment actually from a total stranger. So I guess people are watching this. So Grace, if you're watching again, I just wanted to say thank you so much. That comment that you left me and the encouragement that you shared in your Ravelry message meant a lot to me, and I'm super excited to keep going with this. The other funny story I wanted to share, I didn't mention anything last time about a Ravelry group or anything like that because, I don't know, I kind of felt like this is one episode. I don't even know what's going to happen with this. Am I really going to start a Ravelry group? But at some point, I think in the last couple weeks, I went on to, I was actually more curious to see, how do you go about setting up a Ravelry group? So I was just playing around, I typed in Paws4Stitches podcast group or whatever, and, started the group and I didn't even start any threads. There literally were no threads in this group. And the other day I went on just to kind of fool around with it again. And I was hysterically laughing because there are three members in a group that doesn't really yet exist. But I thought that was pretty cool. So now I kind of feel like I'm obligated to actually formally start this Ravelry group. So that is definitely one thing I'm going to try to do this week if possible. So I thought that I got a kick out of that. I thought that was funny. So I apologize to my 3 amazing Paws4Stitches podcast group members that I don't know, you signed up for the lamest group possible that has absolutely no threads or anything or whatever, but we'll change that, I promise. So that's it. The other thing I wanted to do is just, I don't know, it probably drives a lot of people that know me crazy, but I tend to perseverate and reflect until the cows come home all the time. Everything and anything I do after it's done, I spend a considerable amount of time thinking about, what went well, what could go better, what should I be doing better. So it didn't surprise me that I was probably my own worst critic watching back the first episode. So a couple things that I took away from watching that, is that obviously I have a lot to learn. I've been saying that since last time, but um, I think the one thing that I definitely realized between episode one and now is that I think I may have said that I was going to try to do weekly episodes. Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen because my biggest question that I want to put out there is how do you people do this? Like, how do you actually legitimately have enough stuff to show week to week? I just don't. It's not that, it's not that I'm not giving it my, best effort and trying to, work on things as much as possible so that I can, have finished objects to share and new projects to talk about and progress on works in progress to talk about. But I think one thing that I don't want this to ever be stressful. That's not what this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be exciting. So I think I'm going to be an every other week podcaster kind of gal. That's just going to work out better, I think, for me. If by some chance I have some like crazy, stuff to share in between, like, there's no law against posting putting up an extra episode here and there. But yeah, every other week, I think that's going to be a little bit more manageable because I feel like I definitely have some stuff to share with you guys today, and that makes me happy about that. So that's the one thing I wanted to share. The second thing I noticed, I lost track of how many times in the last episode I think I told you guys, oh, I'm going to insert a picture of this here. And then, looking around, there's no pictures. I don't know. I think part of it is just me getting used to learning how to use iMovie and all of the technology stuff. But I maybe I was just so excited to put up the episode that I just didn't take the time to thoroughly edit and make sure that the things I said would be there. So I'll have to do a little bit better with that if possible. I did have somebody ask me, where the picture, I guess somebody was kind of intrigued by Jamie's German sauerkraut crock, and yeah, that picture did not get into the episode last time around, so sorry, I guess, but I'm sure there'll be opportunities to talk about that again at some point, maybe. So I definitely have to be better with following through on that. And then the other, just another kind of random thing that I noticed, and I think part of it was that I was also talking about some older projects that I actually truthfully didn't remember the names of the yarn. But the one thing I know I have to be better about sharing more specifics about my projects. So I will definitely try to do that. So that's it. But one thing that I want to jump right into, obviously, is the sheepy. That I was so excited. I definitely think that one of the highlights for me this last week, I don't remember exactly what day. I think it might have been Tuesday morning. I woke up in the morning, and sometimes I'll just, relax in bed for a few minutes, and every once in a while that involves, maybe watching a few minutes of a podcast or, looking at Instagram, just something to kind of like, ease into the day. So I noticed that there was a YouTube notification that Chelsea had uploaded or posted or whatever the latest episode of the Legacy Knits podcast. And if you watched last week, you know that there is now an award in the world called the Sheepy. And last week, I awarded the first, or last episode rather, I awarded the first Sheepy to Chelsea and Sue of the Legacy Knits podcast. So I wondered, I know I had kind of told them the deal was that, they needed to give their acceptance speech. So it was so crazy. I started to watch the latest episode and I'm looking at the bottom like of the screen where you can kind of see where they have some stuff. And all I see, it kind of looked sort of like this. Like I see little heads, two of them side by side. And holy cow, poor Jamie. Jamie's like fast asleep next to me. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta wake up. I see the sheepies. And I I have to admit that I really was excited to see what they would say about them. So I just quickly, before I jumped in the shower, I fast forwarded to the part where they actually held up their sheepies and gave lovely acceptance speeches. Um, so I'm pretty excited about this. I actually really, even I think Sue was joking around and saying like, how could you possibly do this every episode? Yeah, I may not be able to do this every episode, but I totally am ready to give out another sheepy this week. So congratulations again to the Legacy Knits podcast. But this week, I wanted to take the opportunity to award someone new with the latest sheepy. So I would like to give a little shout out to Nicole of the Hugh Loco podcast. Nicole, you are the newest honoree, I guess, and I am more than excited and thrilled to give you this sheepy. I think I probably started watching the Hugh Loco podcast has not been around for a tremendously long time, but Nicole is obviously already well liked and so very much loved by many, many, and for good reason. Um, I think the very first episode that I watched, I just, again, you probably got the sense from me last time that, I like it when you get to watch a podcast that you kind of, after a few minutes in, you almost feel like this is somebody you already know. Almost somebody that already is sort of a friend. And Nicole definitely gives off that vibe. But, I actually wanted to highlight a couple really important things, reasons why, I guess I should say, why I wanted to give you this sheepy, Nicole. Probably the first one is just to thank you for your generosity. If you haven't checked her out yet, one of the things you should know about Nicole is that in addition to her regular podcasts, she also has filmed several tutorials. Two that I want to mention in particular, one of them is a whole tutorial about how to make your own project bag. And another episode, or another tutorial rather, was one actually, and she's done multiple tutorials about dyeing yarn. I think this is pretty amazing, Nicole. And I think people have mentioned this about you before. But I just want to say thank you because obviously you have a shop. You're doing quite well. Congratulations for that. And this is your livelihood, like selling project bags and dyeing yarn. Like this is something that, you hope people are buying your stuff. And I just thought it was pretty incredible that you were willing to put it out there though and teach people like sort of the behind the scenes of what you do, so that if people really wanted to, they could go ahead and do it themselves. I just think that's incredibly generous, and I know I want to learn how to make a project bag pretty badly. I haven't done that yet. I would, I have to reacquaint myself with my sewing machine, let's just say. But when I'm ready, I am totally going to go back and rewatch Nicole's episodes or Nicole's tutorials on that project bag, because again, they were well done, and just so very kind and thoughtful. So thank you for that. I think everybody out there in this community appreciates when people don't mind sort of sharing the how-tos behind something, and we appreciate you for that, Nicole. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to highlight, just because this was just in a recent episode, I believe, It seemed as though there was a little bit of confusion. I guess Nicole was going to be a part of the, I think it was the LA yarn crawl, and she had her tide pool shawl pattern. I guess in an episode, she must have said that if you were participating in this yarn crawl and you went into a particular place, you would be able to get that pattern free. Long story short, what it sounds like happened was the shop was giving out the pattern, but you had to purchase something in order to get it, which is a little bit different, obviously, than just saying that you would get the pattern for free. Nicole actually addressed this on her last episode, and you could tell just, I guess what I wanted to highlight is just the level of integrity and honesty that Nicole sort of, portrayed while she was talking about this. What she ended up doing was putting her tide pool shawl pattern for, I think, 72 hours. You could actually get the pattern for free. And that was her way of sort of saying, hey, sorry about the confusion, that I want you to have this pattern. So again, Nicole, thank you so much, for setting such a fine example in this community. I truly enjoy watching your podcast. I love watching what you're working on. I think your dyeing is amazing. I've yet to actually um, purchase any of your yarn, but it's definitely on my yarn bucket list. That is for sure. In fact, I'm pretty bummed that I was not able to get one of the 20 um, budding bluebells shawl kits that you collaborated with Mina on. So, way to go to the 20 people who have those gorgeous colors in their hands, because between that color combination and that shawl pattern, there's going to be some beautiful shawls joining this world soon. So Nicole, if hopefully you've watched this and hopefully now you have your sheepy in your hand, as I wrote to you, I hope that I didn't have any trouble getting this to you, because I know you're in the midst of a little bit of a move and situation like that at the moment, but hopefully you have this. And I am looking forward to seeing if on a future episode of yours, you would just take a few moments and acknowledge your sheepy, give a little acceptance speech, brag a little bit, thank the people in your life who helped to inspire you to do this. And let's just keep this love going, because Jamie asked me the other night, he's like, what are you going to run at? Like, are you going to run out of these awards? I said, I may never, because, this is a community that keeps growing, and it'll always be fun to, kind of give a little shout out to somebody and acknowledge it with something fun. So I hope, Nicole, congratulations. I hope you will give your acceptance speech for the rest of us. I'm sure we will enjoy that. And now you'd be able to join the Legacy Knits Gals, because the sheepy, I think now more than ever, is definitely really a thing. So let's keep the sheepy love going. And thank you again, Nicole, for everything you do for us. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, so like I said, I am actually glad that I waited a whole nother week to film this episode, because I've made some progress on things, you guys. In particular, as you can see, this is my pause applause segment, so that means I have not only one, but two finished objects. Sadly, one of them is not with me, but I'll get to that all in good time. I thought I would actually lead with the finished object that I can show you, which is actually not only one, but two finished objects. Yep, I actually did finish the, trying to center myself there. I did get to finish the zigzagular socks. I think I told you guys about these last time. These were my St. Patrick's Day cast on for 2016. And I actually just finished them up I'm not even gonna lie, this morning I did the Kitchener stitch on the second sock. I was able to show you one finished sock last time, but now I have them both, so they're coming back for a visit. Again, this was the zigzagular sock pattern by Susie White of the Prairie Girls Knit and Spin podcast, which I absolutely adore. If you guys are ever commuting or driving to work and you need a laugh, give those gals a listen because they are hysterical. Susie and Danny, I love you guys. But I really, really loved working on this pattern. Again, I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit closer because the one thing I wanted to show you is that awesome, we looked at this last time, but I can't help but want to show it again. But the actual detail in that zigzag sort of panel is just amazing. Um, Really, really loved working on these socks. They were super fun. And actually, I think I'm going to be making them again sometime soon. I'm pretty excited about that. So, very cool. And again, I love these sock blockers, the Loopy U sock blockers. I'm so excited that I have these now, and it does help to definitely showcase the socks a little bit better. So I'm pretty excited. Happy to have another pair of socks finished for the Box of Socks Cal with Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. I'm a little bit embarrassed, I guess, to admit that I think this is my fourth pair. And I know, I guess the goal is to try and have 12 pairs of socks by the end of the year. So I'm a little behind schedule. What are you going to do? Sometimes I'm kind of hoping maybe in the summer I'll catch up a little bit because obviously socks are a great project to work on when it's hot and you don't want lots of fibery goodness, weighing you down in your lap when it's hot out. So I think I'm still going to be okay. I think I'm still going to be able to fill my box of socks. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing that's sock related that I'm kind of excited about, I finally was able to, I have on order now some of the little circular needles, the 9-inch ones. So I'll be excited to get those in because I've never done a sock with those before. So I'm still in the middle of kind of my sock journey and trying to figure out what I like best. I think what I'm starting to realize is so far I don't know if I have a thing I like best. And I think that's okay because I kind of feel like having different ways and methods of making socks kind of keeps it new, exciting, and interesting. And, maybe then knitting socks will never get boring. So way to go for the zigzagular socks. Super excited about them. And then I just wanted to tell you guys the other thing too, and this time, no joke, I am absolutely going to put in a picture to show you because the other finished object that I was able to finish up, I guess a couple nights ago actually, officially, was my Mrs. Bakery Bear. And if you recall from the last episode, I think I mentioned that Mrs. Bakery Bear was going to be a gift for my niece Madison's 4th birthday. And we actually went yesterday for Madison's birthday party. We did not go to Build-A-Bear. We actually joined in on the party festivities after that at my brother's house. So it was great. Got to see my mom and dad. They were up from South Carolina, so that was a lot of fun. Obviously got to see my brother, my sister-in-law, and I was so excited when I walked into the house. It's so funny, like Madison is just growing up so quickly. And I think this is the first time, especially given the fact that there was a lot of action and stuff going on, that little girl came running at me and gave me the best hug ever when we got to the house yesterday. So she obviously had a great day. It sounded like the kids had a wonderful time at her birthday party. And I was just, I don't know, I guess I'm assuming this is a normal thing for knitters who like to gift their knitting to other people. But not that I don't enjoy opening my own presents, but I have to tell you, when I'm giving something that I've knitted to somebody as a gift, I can barely contain my excitement and like waiting for them to open it. So it was we were all hanging out at my brother's house, and Madison actually went up to go take a nap, and I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, wait a minute, she's got to open the present. I want to see what she thinks about the bear. So I was excited when she came down from her nap. When she kind of woke up a little bit, we got to watch Madison open all of her gifts. And when she opened the package from Jamie and me, she gave that bear a giant squeeze. Um, the other thing that I thought was incredibly comical was that she immediately took off the bear's shoes. Mrs. Bakery Bear's shoes were on the floor, which is normal because, I guess maybe Madison doesn't think that it's appropriate for a bear to be wearing shoes inside the house. So I'm hoping, if I didn't get to, I should have probably taken a picture of this, but the way I attached the back of the dress, I just did it with sort of Kay Jones, who actually created the Mrs. Bakery Bear pattern, suggested doing sort of just a little crocheted I-cord, I guess just to kind of latch around the button that you sew onto the other side of the dress. So I kind of was interested to see if it looked like Madison would be able to, do and undo that button, and it looks like she can. So who knows, maybe if next time I have some fun leftover yarn that I think would make a lovely Mrs. Bakery Bear dress, maybe I'll see if I can make Madison another one or two dresses so that her bear can actually have a little bit of change of clothes, because Madison's definitely at that age now where she is all about pretending. Like, that kid has an incredible imagination. My brother and Jessica laugh all the time. She really doesn't watch a lot of TV or things like that. She just kind of, makes up her own fun, which is great. So if that means that this bear needs a couple other things to wear, then so be it. Girl's got to have more dresses for her bear, I suppose. So I hope that you enjoyed taking a peek at this little girl's face, and we had a good time with that, and I'm glad that Mrs. Bakery Bear was a hit. Okay, it is time to talk about some whips, as you can see. But before I do that, a couple things that I just realized now that I probably should have mentioned already. One being, here I said at the beginning of the episode that I was going to be better about the whole telling you what yarn I'm using thing, and I forgot to mention when I showed you my zigzagular socks that they were made out of lollipop yarns. I believe it was the Gripes base, and it was the Emerald Isle colorway. See, I'm trying, you guys. I think sometimes I just forget. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention too that I probably should have said at the very beginning is, obviously I am not coming to you from a deck with dogs running around and birds in the background today. We are not obviously up in the Adirondacks this weekend, so I am actually in my craft room in New Jersey, and I am dying laughing because what you can see right now looks halfway decent, but if you could only see what I'm looking at on the other side of the room, it would explain to you that right now I have a craft room that is sort of a work in progress itself, so it seemed fitting to talk about it during this segment. Yeah. As many of us do, I've gone through so many different hobbies. Scrapbooking, rubber stamping, beading, all kinds of stuff. And my craft room really reflects that, because over time I have just acquired so much stuff. So I kind of finally made the decision that I wanted to kind of commit this to more of a fiber studio kind of feel. So Jamie is in the process of helping me with that now. As you could see, I have the wonderful, what are they called? Like Kallax or something like that. The awesome IKEA squares, I call them, that so many people use to store things, in a nice, neat kind of way. And I'm definitely in the process of weeding out some of the other craft related items, which is a little bit stressful because when you start to look through your stuff and you realize how much money you've spent over time on things, and like it kind of seems painful or wasteful to get rid of things. So I right now I'm still in the process of giving it some thought. I'm trying to figure out what to do, but I do know that I can't have it all in this room because I want this room to be a comfortable place where I can come and work on my, crafting and not have to look around and just be stressed out with all the stuff that's sitting around me that I'm not using any longer. So anyway, my craft room is probably my first work in progress that I wanted to mention to you. Um, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe over time, when we start working on the other half, I'll, maybe do a little tour someday or something and show you what I've got going on. But Jamie's been a big help, of course. And right now we have a lot of things put together, but we just have to we have to attach some things to the wall. I do have a television in here just to have, things on in the background as I work. But right now we actually, because of what we want to do on the other side of the room, we have to move the arm, whatever you call that thing that we put up for the television, to the other side. So all in good time. There's always time, but at least for now, this gives me a place to podcast when we are not up at the cabin. So a little bit later on, I think when Jamie joins me, I might give you guys a change of scenery, because honestly, I think even I might need a change of scenery. So we'll see how that goes a little bit later. But let's get on to those whips. Last time I was telling you guys about my mom's Mother's Day present, and yes, I know Mother's Day is rapidly approaching. And I don't know. I'm getting close. I'm on a roll with this. As you could probably imagine, I had to have the bear finished in time for Madison's birthday, so that kind of got priority. And then the socks were so darn close, I just wanted them to be done. But I have been working on this checks wrap as much as I possibly can. I had a little bit of a moment, shall we say, though, because as I was working on this, I told you guys last time, this project, the checks wrap, is something that is worked holding two yarns together. And again, I apologize, but this is one of those things where, at least now, I am going to be able to tell you one of the two yarns, but I still don't know. Where's the green one? This one that I showed you last time. I'm almost certain it's a Madeline Tosh something or another, but I don't remember the colorway. But what was the little panicky moment I had was when I looked into my project bag, which, by the way, this project is living in one of my favorite project bags that I have, which is my Charlotte's Web project bag from Little Skein and the Big Wool. When I saw that she had special Charlotte's Web fabric made for these project bags, I had to have one. I just had to. So that's where this project is living at the moment. But anyway, I looked down into the bag at one point and I saw that this was like all I had left of the mohair. And I had a little bit of a panicky moment because, as I mentioned to you before, this was an old project that was like coming out of hibernation. And I thought, yeah, that's great, Can. You're not going to be able to find that yarn, so what are you going to do? So I had already run through some possible solutions in my head, headed to my favorite local yarn shop, the Yarn Attic, in Hillsborough, New Jersey. And Rhonda, who is the owner of the shop and who is just fabulous and amazing in every way possible, I thought like she would be able to help me brainstorm some options for what to do about the fact that I was probably going to run out of this yarn. But it was one of those moments. You know how they talk about divine intervention? This was more like a divine acquisition, because when Rhonda, I swear she is like the yarn whisperer. She could like look at yarn and tell you what the name of the yarn is, what the colorway is. So right away she looked at this and she's like, oh, I think we have that in our clearance bin or whatever. That's the Debbie Bliss angel prints. So anyway, that was it. She actually, I couldn't even believe it. She had another skein of this, and not really a skein. What the heck would this be called? I don't even know. What do you call mohair? Whatever. Blob of mohair. We're going with that for now. How's that? But anyway, this should be fine then. So I'm trugging along with this. Just to show you very quickly, I did leave a progress keeper. So that's kind of from the, oh, there we go. That's where I was. And as you can see, boom, 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 it just keeps growing and growing and growing. It is getting there. I think I have to do the repeat a total of 19 times, and I am on, I think, number 8. So I'm getting there. I am definitely getting there. I am not 100% sure this is going to be in the mail and shipped to my mom in time for Mother's Day. But the good news is, well, good news and bad news, she totally saw it. She watched the podcast last time, and even though I kind of warned her and I told her that, you know, her gift was making an appearance, she totally saw it. So I actually don't, I think she knows that it's legit and that I'm working on it. I'm also going down to South Carolina in a few weeks to visit my parents. So instead of shipping it, I might just kind of have it ready to bring down there with me the second weekend. I think it's the second weekend in June I'm going. So that's not that far away anyway. That should give me plenty of time to finish this. She knows it's coming, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to look great on her. I'm kind of looking forward to. She doesn't know this yet, but I have an idea for a possible segment to film down when I am in South Carolina visiting with my mom, because yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that for now, but I think we could do something kind of fun together. So I am excited. The Chex Wrap is moving right along. So that's that. But then I do have one other thing that I wanted to sort of introduce to you guys as a project. I just realized though, hold on one second. I'm actually going to stop this because I need to run and get something. Hold that thought. Go like pour yourself something. Tea, wine, whatever you feel like it, because I need to grab something that I forgot. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I hope you were able to grab yourself something, because the last work in progress that I want to talk to you guys about has to do with the oh so beloved Cozy Memories blanket, which, I mean, I really don't, it's pretty rare to watch a podcast and not have somebody talk about the Cozy Memories blanket, because it is just one of those things that no matter how hard you try, it is incredibly easy to get sucked into the madness that is the Cozy Memories blanket. It's like a phenomenon. So I have a confession though, because I've actually started a Cozy Memories blanket, not once, but twice. What I had to run and grab is my very, very first start of a Cozy Memories blanket, which is right here. So if I'll hold it like this, and I will just show you that basically, I started pretty good amount of progress on this. Lots of squares. It keeps going, and it keeps going. And oh, there we go. We finally come to the end of our, what almost in some ways, if you think about it, I've pretty much created Cozy Memories bunting at this point. I think what happened to me after this first attempt was that I decided I didn't like the way I was attaching the squares to one another. I had started to see at that point, I've been watching a bunch of podcasts, and I'm noticing that, and I think it probably, I first noticed it on Kemper, the Junk Yarn podcast, how more people were starting to attach their squares so that they actually looked like rows, not almost, I almost want to say, like, I feel like I'm attaching these more like diamond So like when this thing, if this thing were to be finished, they would all, the squares wouldn't look side by side like that. They would just kind of look almost jagged. I think it would still look absolutely lovely, but for some reason I liked the sense of order in doing it the other way. So one of the things I have to tell you, though, that's kind of funny, I was just talking to some folks I was with last weekend, and I told them that if there's one thing they need to invent for knitters, like, believe me, I am the worst when it comes to weaving in ends. But one thing I swore to myself as I was working on this bad boy was that I was going to keep up with the ends, because I thought to myself, oh my God, Candy, if you save these to the end, it's going to be a hot mess, and there's no way you are going to ever weave in all of those ends. Well, you know what? Kind of wishing that I had left it a hot mess right now, because now what I want to rip these things out. I want to reuse the yarn, and I can't find the freaking ends. So I was thinking it would be awesome if they had kind of like when you go through airport security and they have the wand that they, move up and down your body when they're trying to find, probably knitting needles or something on you. Um, I wish there was a machine or a gadget like that, that when you like, you know, if you were holding this up and you did the wand in front of it, it would like beep when you actually get to where you have that end tucked in. But oh well, I guess I have to figure out at some point. Maybe Jamie can actually help me, you know, kind of retrieve the ends so that I can, because some of these colors are gorgeous. I would like to use them again if possible. So anyway, epic fail number one. I knew I wasn't going to continue with this. So then I decided that I thought the problem was that my squares were not big enough. So then I have another attempt at starting. And as you can see, this time I would have connected them, next to each other the way that I kind of wanted them to be. But I don't know. Every time I try to work on this, it kind of felt like there was something missing, and I wasn't really sure what that was until Thursday night. Thursday night at my knitting group, Rhonda, when we got there, she had on the table the newest, I have it right here, the newest issue of Noro. And oh my goodness, this thing is absolutely amazing. One of the things that right away I noticed, in addition to the 9 million shawls in here that I want to make, was that there is also a pattern for what they refer to it as sort of their mitered Afghan pattern. And it looks like this. You can kind of see what the deal is here. I don't think I'm giving anything away by holding this up either, but you can see that what actually ends up happening is, instead of just a simple square, what you're doing is, or what the pattern calls for you to do, is to actually set up, you start first with a square, and then you add on what they call the lower L shape, and then the upper L shape, and then you finish off that whole square with a rectangle at the top. Let me tell you what it was about this that was appealing to me. You see, it doesn't go lost on me that people call this the Cozy Memories blanket. So I think in addition to trying to figure out exactly what I wanted it to look like, I think one thing that I've been struggling with is how to make it just that. Like I really do want this blanket to be about memories and special people in my life, and events and places I've been and things that I want to remember for the rest of my life. I am fully aware that I'm going to be working on this blanket for a very long time. So if that's the case, I feel like I need it to have like this higher level of meaning or something. So I don't know. When I saw this sort of variation on the theme, I thought, wait a minute, I think I might be onto something. Because what I started to think of is, okay, what if each of those blocks, as I just showed you, could represent someone special to me, or some place special that I've been, or a memory, or a particular event or accomplishment, or whatever the case may be. So that little by little, as I piece this whole blanket together, it really does kind of tell the story of my life and who I am and where I've come from and all of the different memories that make up everything I am. And I started to get super excited about this idea. So I wanted to show you, I guess Friday, the other day, I wanted to play around with it anyway to see if this was a pattern that I thought I would actually be able to commit myself to. So I want to show you my first, where can I put this? Oops, there we go. I want to show you my first completed square. And I also want to introduce you, like, to use this square to kind of better explain what I want to do with this project. Because this, my friends, is Gramps. This is my grandfather in a square. Um, what I tried to do was I looked through all of my minis and I tried to find 4 colors that somehow connected to my grandfather in some way, shape, or form. So real quick, let me kind of move this over. Ugh, it's still stuck to I haven't cut this yet. So let me tell you, the green down here, I don't know. I think green, I think money. Sorry, it's a terrible thing to say. I should probably say something like lush green grass or whatever, but no, I'm thinking money. And the reason that that reminds me of my grandfather is because my grandfather was pretty much the king of Atlantic City. Growing up, I remember my grandfather going to Atlantic City by bus all the time. My brother and I, in the summer, we used to each get to take turns. He used to actually go stay in Atlantic City for, I think, a couple weeks usually each summer. And he would let us come down and hang with him for a few days each. So I have definitely a lot of memories of spending some time with my grandfather, walking the boardwalk, eating taffy. Um, don't tell anybody, but um, giving me a quarter and letting me sneak it and put it into the slot machine that was like right on the edge of the entrance to the casino without anybody knowing. So anyway, green, that's for the money. Then if I move you to the next section of the square that I finished, there's, I don't know, I think it still represents something to me. When it was in the mini skein, I was seeing a lot more blues and greens, and it was looking very ocean-like. And that's another thing, another huge memory about my grandfather is the fact that when I think of him, I just absolutely think of the beach. And actually, this is going to connect to the yellow in a second, too, when I tell you something else about him. My grandfather, and I wish I wish I could remember the exact number, but my grandfather also loved going on cruises. And so again, thinking like ocean and whatnot, that kind of reminded me of him. The yellow is supposed to represent, I don't know if any of you by chance have ever gone on a Royal Caribbean cruise, but a long time ago, I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to have something called the Ship Shape program, which you would go and do different like activities and they would give you these awesome paper ship shape dollars. And when you had saved up enough of them, you traded them in for a t-shirt that I swear to you was exactly this color. So combining the ship shape yellow with the, blues and greens of the sea, I wanted to remember my grandfather's passion for going on these fun vacations. We were fortunate to be able to vacation with him a few times. In fact, little known fact about me is that actually when I was in college, I worked for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines myself. And I'll never forget the time that I was on a ship and I got a phone call saying that a passenger needed some assistance in a room. And when I showed up at that room and the door opened, it was actually my grandfather and his lady friend surprising me. I had no clue they were going to be on the ship. So that was special. Another special memory I have of my grandfather. So the last thing I wanted to tell you guys about was sort of this gray section here. And by no means do I want this to be a downer. But I think gray for me kind of represents, sort of fog. And sadly, my grandfather passed away a few years ago, if you haven't already maybe guessed that. And definitely the last couple years were challenging, particularly for my mom, because Gramps was staying in, sort of an assisted living community. And while they took very good care of him, one of the things that we all, noticed pretty quickly was how much his memory was starting to fade, and how much there were times when I would go down to South Carolina to visit, and it was sometimes obvious that he wasn't even really sure exactly where he was. Um, Ironically, this all kind of does tie together because during those last few months, or even maybe last year, um, sometimes when you talk to him, we believed that he thought he was on a cruise ship. Um, and, as much as it's hard to watch somebody you love go down that path, it's interesting how some of the things that they love come to the surface, as they kind of are trying to get through this. And as they're sharing memories with you, they're of things that they absolutely loved. So I think for me, like, that's why I wanted to start this cozy memories blanket with my grandfather, because I do think watching him during that last year or so of his life made me realize how important it is to have memories to hold on to. So if I'm going to do this cozy memories thing, I really want to do it right. And as I add each block, I want to be able to tell you guys a little story about that person or that event or whatever it is that I'm adding to sort of this blanket of memories, that represents my life, and the people in it who are most special to me. So um, I'm super excited about this. I finally think that I can commit to this cozy memories thing in a way that works for me, and in a way that I think is going to be special. The one thing I want to make sure, like, every cozy memories blanket that I see out there is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and some people have been able to really use that as a speaking point to all of the special things that they remember, whether it's the projects they made or the people they made them for, or a particular memory that's associated with. Um, I just for the There was something missing for me, and I needed something a little bit different. So I'm super excited. I think I finally nailed it, and figured out a way to make this work for me. So if you guys again are interested in that pattern, it is in the latest issue of the Neuro magazine. I think it actually said, what did it say down here? It says issue 8, and it's going to be on display until August 10th, 2016. So it should be around for a little bit longer. Pattern's pretty easy to follow. I think the thing I have to figure out next, you actually do attach the next square. So not only now is all this, mitered action going on within the square, but somehow it's going to attach, on, the next square that I start will actually be connected to this. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm excited about it. And I can't wait to be able to show you guys some progress. And like I said, extra benefit, I feel like, in sharing some of these squares with you guys, I'll also get to tell you about some little bits and pieces about myself little by little. So thank you so much. I'm very excited about my works in progress, and I think I'm going to move on to the next segment. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. I took a little break and I found somebody along the way. This is definitely going to be the last segment, I promise. But for the handful of people who watched last week, apparently this guy sitting right next to me was sort of intriguing. So the OMJ segment seemed to be a little bit of a hit. So I told Jamie, I said, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but why don't you come on back for the last few minutes and we'll see how it goes. So, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah. What do you have going on today?
Today I was working in the kitchen.
Yes, you are.
Yep.
Okay. What are you doing?
I was just doing stuff in the kitchen, getting ready for dinner and stuff like that. Um, getting stuff ready for the week, making some eggs, pickled eggs, stuff like that.
Ah,
Just
okay.
so we have stuff ready to throw together some lunches and for dinner.
Sounds good. But more importantly, I also think you made something a little special for
Oh
us.
yeah.
We had talked last week. Remember, we had our Bloody Marys, and I had shared that Jamie had this grand idea that I don't know, we should have some sort of special cocktail each
Yep.
episode. And as I said before, obviously we are home in New Jersey this weekend. We're not up at the cabin, which is kind of sad. So one of the things that makes me less sad is what you've made for us. You want to talk about
Yep.
that a little bit?
It's an Adirondack Old Fashioned. So it's a traditional base of an old fashioned drink. It's usually an old fashioned. You put a sugar cube in there, a couple of dashes of bitters. You muddle that, and then usually the base spirit is a whiskey or a bourbon. So this is just we were at a restaurant. Uh, and they had this drink called the Adirondack Old Fashioned. Of course, they give you some archaic what's in it. So I just try to make our own version. So it has peaches on the bottom because it's an Adirondack Old Fashioned. Instead of using a sugar cube, you put a little bit of maple syrup because everything up in the Adirondacks needs to have maple syrup in it.
That is true.
But it's a good sweetener. It's a substitute for simple syrup in drinks and stuff like that. Some peaches. Unfortunately, we don't have fresh peaches. This will be really good come July when we get some good New Jersey peaches from the farmers market. And so you're muddling the maple syrup, the bitters, maybe 3 or 4 dashes of bitters. I like bitters, so I put a little bit more in. And you muddle that together. I put a little bit of water in there, and then a couple of ounces of bourbon. We use Maker's Mark, Kentucky bourbon, and then some ginger ale. So in a traditional old fashioned, you'll use club soda. So the soda that you're using here is actually ginger ale.
Yeah.
And then it's served over crushed ice.
No, I
So,
like it.
yep.
It always seems a little bit on the strong side to me, but in a good kind of way. It's not like
Not much alcohol in it. It's only about 2 ounces of bourbon.
So I guess just the Maker's Mark is strong, like has a strong taste.
You're also tasting the bitters in there.
Okay.
But bitters has very little alcohol. Only about 4% is in a bitters. But bitters are coming around. There's a lot of distilleries making some craft bitters. So they're a little bit higher. But this is just traditional bitters that you'll.
So you're saying you're bringing the bitters back?
Oh, I'm not.
What else do you even put bitters in? I don't even know.
You could use them in soups and stews, and it's just you can only use a little because it's a very pungent flavor.
Yeah. No.
So I only know about you could cook with them, but primarily I just put them in drinks.
Yeah.
So
No.
I haven't branched out to the. There's grapefruit bitters and any type of fruit you can make a bitter out of.
But these bitters you got just in the grocery store,
yeah,
right?
just traditional.
But what about like the fancy ones? Where do you get those even?
You could get them in a good liquor store.
Okay.
Good liquor store will start carrying them. And even whiskeys, American whiskey is really getting to be a pretty big movement. I'm not a big American whiskey drinker. If I do, it's going to be Kentucky bourbon. But rye whiskeys are coming around, stuff like that. So if you have a good liquor store, you'll be able to find all this.
Sounds good. Well, I mean, it's a good thing that you made this for us because, not sure if you guys can see behind us, but we're sitting actually in our dining room right now, and it might seem a little bit odd, but we do actually have a sizable.
To say the least.
It's
going to be my coffin.
I'm trying to find a good way to put that.
It's going to be my coffin one day.
We have a sizable kegerator in our dining room. This was something that Jamie wanted a while ago, and I kept telling him, just get it. And then one day finally, he had to explain to me like the fact that this giant truck even needed to drop this thing off at our house. I knew it was
Had to
going to
shut
be
the road
big.
down.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be big, but I hadn't quite expected this. But one of the things though that's not, I guess not a pain in the neck. It would you just have to deal with it. But all the line, like every time you want to put something new on tap, you have to clean the lines. So that's what you've got. You've got a lot of lines to clean at the moment.
It's not a long run, but it seems like it's miles and miles of beer line that I have to clean.
I want the Guinness back though. When is the Guinness coming back?
Guinness will come back this week.
So do you have the nitrogen, or do you have to pick that up too?
We're running a little low on the nitrogen, Guinness gas, nitrogen, and CO2. We're running a little low, but we could tap a keg, and when the bottle runs out, I'll run down to the welding store.
Oh,
that's where you get the gas.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. So how's your knitting going?
Not so well.
Yeah, I'm glad you're being honest about that.
Oh yeah. Only a couple of rows since the last time
I don't think
we met.
It's not that it's not going well because you messed anything up.
Oh, no. It's just I got to find the time.
Had a lot of time to do it.
Doing stuff on the kitchen up in New York, also remodeling that. So doing the insides of the cabinets, and this week I gotta make the last 3 kitchen doors. Gotta make them, and then gotta paint them and stuff. So been working on the kitchen up in New York.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a deadline. I guess it's kind of a deadline.
I don't have a deadline. She does.
All right, I have a deadline because we have my best friend Debbie and her dad are coming to visit a few more weeks, like May 20th, I think it is. And at the moment, we really didn't need to do much to the kitchen up at the cabin, but we both kind of had an idea of something we wanted to do. Jamie had some ideas for what. I don't know. I didn't even know you could put black walnut countertops in a kitchen, but that was something that Jamie, threw out as an idea, and it's really coming along. Maybe I'll put towards the end of this, I'll just put a few pictures, just since we even miss doing this, I guess, up at the cabin anyway. So even just to show you guys a few pictures of what he's been working on up there. But we have a sink that needs to be put in. That is a heavy sink.
Well, it's a huge sink, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm afraid of.
Double ceramic, old farmhouse sink. So.
Yeah, I just don't know how you're gonna lift that by yourself because I'm not coming up the next time.
Nah, I'll call somebody to help me.
Yeah, all like 3 people that we know up in the Adirondacks.
That's all right.
But that's okay.
Gene will surely help out.
That'll be fine. So anyway, I guess it's understandable then that you haven't done a lot of knitting. But I did bring you home a present though.
Yeah. I have
couple presents.
Substituted my project box with a project bag.
Yeah, he actually.
Who was the nice person?
Fernanda.
You were at the sheep
at the Washington County Farm and Fiber tour,
and she had an extra bag, so she passed it along.
Yeah, I was telling the girls this last weekend about Jamie's sad
I like my box
project box story, and it does look like now you've got yourself a bag.
I got myself a bag,
but you seem to be having
awfully
trouble.
Bright, I'll never lose it.
Well, that's good, but you seem to be having trouble parting with the project box because
no, I'm keeping it because my
first
set of sock yarn.
I brought you home another present.
Yep, my first skein of sock yarn.
Yeah. So
and that's going in my project box. So that's
going to be a little tight in there.
I know.
But we'll see.
Don't have to do that on double pointed needles.
Well, you could do the socks on double pointed. You could do them on 2 circulars. I could teach you how to do magic loop.
I might have to cut the opening in the project box a little bigger then.
Yeah, probably. Or we'll figure that out. But I'm just wondering if you're ever going to part with that thing.
I'm not No, the project box is here to stay.
Oh, okay. That's fabulous.
You know me. I don't throw anything out.
You do not.
You get yelled at because I don't throw anything out.
So anyway, that's your stuff you've got going on. Lots of stuff going on up at the cabin. And I think that's probably it. again, no dogs this episode. Sorry about that, everybody. But
They're actually
they're
at
under
our
the table.
yeah, they're at our feet
right now. And you may have just a couple minutes ago heard some thumping and scratching. That's Addie, just like last week. She's still scratching and scratching and scratching. So anyway, we just wanted to say goodbye to everybody, tell everybody to have a good week. Again, like I said earlier, I'm probably not going to, I'm not going to necessarily do this every week. Although I didn't get to talk much. Jamie mentioned my big weekend last weekend. I didn't get to talk much about that, if at all, in the episode. Yeah, I know.
Oh, I thought that was going to be the whole episode.
Yeah, I thought so too, but
got to do one next week
that
then,
could
folks.
just be like a special episode. So we'll see how that goes.
And the Kentucky Derby episode.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
Oh, that's next week.
For Saturday in May.
So are we going to do something special for that?
Sure. We'll make a nice fancy dinner and get dressed up and make mint juleps.
Okay, that sounds good.
Oh, no.
I need a hat. I need one of those fancy hats.
Definitely need a hat.
You need like a seersucker suit.
Yeah. No, I just like watching the race.
Yeah. Well, all you like is just to yell the down the stretch they come thing, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah. One of these days
I'll
throw
take
some.
that long.
No, it doesn't.
So.
It's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports.
It is. It's very exciting. So, heck of a lot more exciting than the Rangers in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Good thing about hockey, October's right around the corner.
It absolutely is.
So
with that said, everybody, I think it's time for a little cheers.
Cheers.
Have a great week, and thank you so much. And don't forget to find some time this week to pause for those stitches. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye now.